Good afternoon, children. Yesterday we read that all the arrangements were made for Evans to write examination in his own cell. Even McCleary, who was appointed as invigilator, was frisked nicely. Stephens was asked to stand out of the cell of Evans because Evans did not want to write in front of him, and he said that he could not concentrate on his examination if Stephens stood over his head. Governor thought that he was perhaps overdoing things, and therefore Stephens was asked to see through the peephole. Stephens was looking into the Evans cell after each 1 minute or 2 minutes interval, and he found that almost the things were same. But now something unusual was there. Evans was asking for a blanket to be put on his shoulders that was kept on his bunk, and Stephens thought that it might be possible that Evans is feeling cold and so he is asking for the blanket. We are on page number 80, children. At 10:51 a.m., Stephens was more than a little surprised to see a grey regulation blanket draped round Ivan's shoulders, and he frowned slightly and looked at the examinee more closely. But Evans, the pen still between his teeth, was staring just as vacantly as before. So, children, he was surprised. Stephens was surprised to see that Evans was wearing a blanket, and then the expression of Evans remained the same. He appeared to be as if he was completely blank and he was not able to get any answer. So he was just appearing to be vacant. Blankly beneath a blanket. Now dash 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 is put. Now what was going on inside the blanket? Should Stephens report the slight irregularity? Anything at all fishy? Hadn't Jackson said? He looked through the peephole once again, and even as he did so, Evans pulled the dirty blanket more closely to himself. Was he planning a sudden Batman leap to suffocate McCleary in the blanket? Don't be daft. There was never any sun on this side of the prison, no heating either during the summer months, and it could get quite chilly in some of the cells. Stephens decided to revert to his earlier every minute observation. So initially, Stephens thought that it was useless to look into the cell every minute because he felt that what was the use? Evans was appearing to be the same. He sorely needed some inspiration from somewhere to write the examination because he was completely blank. Now Stephens could find Evans wearing a blanket. He thought that it could be anything fishy, something fishy, and he should report the matter to the officer, Mr. Jackson. And it might be possible that McCleary is suffocated into the blanket by Evans and he makes a escape. Evans makes a escape. So what to do? Now Stephens thought that it might be possible that because it is so cold, he was wearing the blanket because in summer months also they do not get any sunshine there and it was the winter. So he returned back to his every minute observation. At 11:20 a.m., the receiver once more crackled across the silence of the governor's office, and McCleary informed Evans that only 5 minutes remained. The examination was almost over now, but something still gnawed away quietly in the governor's mind. He reached for the phone once more. So now, children, it was 11:20. You know that the examination was scheduled for 2 hours and it began at 9:25. So examination was to complete get over at 11:25. So now only 5 minutes were left, and Governor thought that he had already forgotten to listen to the recording or whatever was going on in the cell of Evans. So he thought that again he should look into the recording and listen to the recording, and therefore he returned back to that point. At 11:22 a.m., Jackson shouted along the corridor to Stephens. The governor wanted to speak with him. Hurry, man. Stephens picked up the phone apprehensively, as if he was afraid, scared, because he was a newly recruited officer, and listened to the rapidly spoken orders. Now, children, this is very, very important. Time 11:22. Stephens was asked something. What were the instructions that were given to Stephens? So he heard Stephens himself was to accompany McClary to the main prison gates. Understood? Now, this was the first instruction, that Stephens was asked to accompany McClary to the main gates. Stephens personally was to make absolutely sure that door was locked on Evans after McClary had left the cell. Understood? So this was the second instruction. So he has to not only accompany McClary, but he had to return back and find out that Evans was properly placed in his cell or not. Understood. At 11:25 a.m., the governor heard the final exchanges. McClary said, "Stop writing, please." Silence. McClary again says, "Put your sheet in order and see they are correctly numbered." Silence. Scrapping of chairs and tables. Ivan says, "Thank you very much, sir." McClary says, "All right, was it?" Evans replies, "Not too bad." McClary says, "Good, Mr. Stephens." Now he announces the name of Mr. Stephens because Mr. Stephens was outside the cell. The governor heard the door clang for the last time. The examination was over. So it appeared that everything went on well, and at 11:25 the examination was over. "How did he get on, do you think?" asked Stephens as he walked beside McClary to the main gates. "I can't think. He's distinguished himself, I'm afraid." His Scots accent seemed broader than ever, and his long black overcoat, reaching almost to his knees, fostered the illusion that he had suddenly grown slimmer. Now, these were the two changes that were seen by Stephens when Stephens was accompanying McClary to the main gates. He saw that McClary's Scots accent appeared to be more broader, the pronunciations were more broader, and the black overcoat that he was wearing since he came inside the prison, that appeared to be a little long, and it appeared that suddenly McClary was grown thin, and therefore the overcoat reached up to the knee. Stephens felt pleased that the governor had asked him and not Jackson to see McClary off the premises. Why? Because Stephens was a newly recruited officer, and he thought that governor had relied more on him instead of Mr. Jackson. But something stopped him from making his way directly to the canteen for a belated cup of coffee. He wanted to take just one last look at Evans. It was like a program he had seen on TV about a woman who could never really convince herself that she had locked the front door when she had gone to bed. Often she got up 12, 15, sometimes 20 times to check the bolts. Usually, this thing happens with us also many times, children, that when we are alone, we want to check the door or again and again, the bolts of the door again and again, that we have locked them properly or not. So, as Stephens was instructed also that he should, when returned back, should straight away go to see Evans was properly locked up in the cell or not. And along with it, he used to watch a show in which the woman used to check every time the bolts. So he felt that instead of having the coffee, he should go and first check Ivan's cell door whether it was properly locked or not. He re entered D wing, made his way along to Ivan's cell, and opened the peephole once more. Oh no, Christ, no! There sprawled back in Ivan's chair was a man. For a semi-second, Stephens thought it must be Ivan's. A grey regulation blanket slipped from his shoulders. So when Stephens entered into the D wing to check Ivan's again, children, he saw that there something wrong was there, something fishy was there. And what did he see? He saw that there was in Ivan's chair there was McCleary, he felt. Why? Because looking at the dress that he was wearing of the parson, he thought that he was McCleary. And for a semi-second he thought he was Ivan's, because the grey regulation blanket that he was wearing that fell from his shoulder, and he remembered that that blanket was worn by Ivan's. So he thought that it might be Ivan's. But then the front of his closely cropped, irregularly tufted hair, awash with fierce red blood, which had dripped already through the small black beard and was even now spreading horribly over the white clerical collar and down into the black clerical front. So when he saw the dress, the paraphernalia that are usually used by the parson, worn by the man in the chair, he felt that it was not Ivan's but he was McCleary, and who was badly beaten, and his head was smashed so much that the blood was oozing from his head. It was dropping up to his beard and coming down up to the black clerical front. So Stephens thought that Evans had run away in the dress of McCleary by smashing the head of McCleary or by hurting McCleary, who was there in the prison.